Well, it's 2020, and the day that we've all expected to come for quite some time, and that probably a lot of people have not cared is coming for years, has finally arrived. Star Wars Battlefront 2 is dead. Now, Jay, why are you being so melodramatic? The game is still alive, the servers are still up, people are still playing. Very true. Star Wars Battlefront 2 will live on in a variety of ways. Both in the sense that they've added more cosmetics now, they've fixed a lot of bugs, especially bugs that have been plaguing the game for a long time, and they've added in new things like the Battle of Scarif. They've added in quality of life changes to the heroes. They've definitely gone all out in terms of supporting this game from launch, sort of. And that's sort of something I want to get into today. This is talking about the slow and painful death of Star Wars Battlefront 2, where it's at now, where the series is probably going moving forward, and what the plans are for the future of this game and others. And I do want to start by taking a look at DICE's own statement for Battlefront 2. There's a few of them here. One of which is, since launch, we've brought new content in the form of free updates to the entire player base, delivering immersive Star Wars battles you can play solo with friends and against others across the entire Skywalker saga. This vision will now be realized as we complete our return to the Age of Rebellion, which we started in February. Looking beyond April, we're transitioning to a phase where servers, in-game challenges, recurring events such as Double XP and more, and game support will carry this broad and rich Star Wars gaming experience into the future. This means that we're moving away from delivering regular content updates. As the game lives on with the players and our community, we're looking forward to hearing your stories for the years to come. And so that's the thing. This is pretty much it for the content of Star Wars Battlefront 2. It's something I've talked about before. This was actually before I even really had many subscribers, was the redemption or the redeeming of Star Wars Battlefront 2. How DICE redeemed themselves, how they actually put a lot more work into this game. And I've noticed two things. Whenever I give this game credit, this is a very polarizing group of people. When I give this game credit, one group of people gets really pissed off. And they're like, no, it's actually terrible. It never got improved. It totally sucks. I can't believe you like this game. And then there's the other group who's like, actually, it's way better than you're giving it credit for. Why don't you say this, 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 and this? So it's almost like you have the people who have stayed extremely loyal to this game. You have the people who just hate it to death, apparently, and do not like anything about it. And I'm somewhere in the middle. I've enjoyed this game since launch. I still enjoy this game. I like the quality of life updates that they've made to the game. But looking back at what happened with this, it has been a bit of a train wreck, even with all of these free content updates. Now, when the game originally launched, it was plagued massively by microtransaction problems, star card system that really was terrible and encouraged buying loot boxes for no reason to unbalance your character and make them better than the character on the opposing team or the one next to you, either way. The whole thing was just kind of a mess. It was very sparse on content, and even when I said that in like a previous video, people were like, aren't you thinking of Star Wars Battlefront 1 from EA? No, that was just even worse. This was still not great in terms of the content they included. There was not a ton from any era at launch, and it's been slowly added to over the course of the game. One thing I think with games like this, and moving into games as a service, is that you need to start with a really good game and make it an amazing game if you're going to do that. Or a really great game and make it a phenomenal game when you do that. Star Wars Battlefront 2 started as an okay game. I mean, it was fun. The campaign was pretty much just a distraction. It didn't offer very much in terms of the lore of the Star Wars universe, which is too bad. The character Iden Versio was great, I thought, and portrayed by a fantastic actress. But overall, the story was kept vague on purpose. Nothing was really divulged that they had that really did anything or offered any new insight into Star Wars beyond the Aftermath books, which frankly are just a much more expanded version of the Star Wars Battlefront 2 stories. There wasn't much there in terms of single player. Instant action was really nowhere to be seen, the arcade mode was extremely barren with very little to do, and there were very few characters to actually play at launch. Over time, over the last few years, a lot of those things have been fixed. A lot of cosmetics have been added to the game. A lot of new heroes have been added to the game, heroes and villains, for pretty much anybody to play and enjoy. But it's really just sort of sad in some ways how this turned out. And the reason for that is because of where they're going from here. From here, the team is actually pivoting to do another Battlefield, which I'm not going to say anything about the sales of Battlefield 5. I am not a sales expert on that game, but it was met with heavy criticism on launch from how they handled it, with a lot of really stupid takes, like all around, especially the whole thing about like being on the right side of history. And what really annoyed me with that, and how EA decided to handle that criticism, EA and DICE in my opinion, they actually went out of their way to be argumentative with the player base and confrontational for no reason. Now, there was a lot of pitchforking when this came out, especially about the whole women in World War II thing. But a lot of the women that they had marketed in that game were from different countries other than the United States originally. And some of those countries did have more women in active service at the time. But instead of actually explaining that, EA decided to just like put their foot down and like really like yell at the player base about being on the right side of history, like they're trying to take a stand against some kind of huge moral issue or something. They got super defensive and said, if you don't like this game, don't buy it. And that really, really, really damaged how people saw Battlefield. I didn't buy Battlefield 5 because of it. Because for me, it was like, okay, well, even if this game is good, I have, 100 other great games in my backlog that I haven't beaten or want to replay. Or I could give you money because you're on the right side of history and taking some kind of moral stand, like you're the Allies, like rising up on D-Day. It was just not interesting to me, and it was a turnoff to a lot of consumers. And it also damaged DICE's reputation, just in general, because they are so tied in with EA and associated with EA. And the problem with all of this is that EA just keeps making money because people are willing to just fork over money for their sports games. So it doesn't really matter what they do anywhere else. I mean, why would you care what's going on in 1/5 of your money, right? When you have the other 4/5 that's a guaranteed income. It's like you don't want to completely blow over the 1/5, but those 4/5 are so much bigger, and we're talking like billions of dollars here, that you could stand to lose it and be fine. And that standing to lose it is where I come down on Star Wars Battlefront, to get back to the topic at hand, because this does all tie together, is that EA could stand to actually commit to having DICE develop more for this game. This game very easily could have still been used in the same way that something like Dota or League of Legends or even Fortnite, please don't click off, I know you hate Fortnite, but even Fortnite is used as a platform for a game. You know, you introduce a battle pass, you have the Bespin Luke skin in there, you have the Darth Maul skin from Solo in there, and a bunch of other stuff over the course of that battle pass. You support the game through this way, and you keep making great content, and people who don't want that content and just want to play the game, they just say, okay, I don't want that, I just want to play the game that I bought. The end. That's how you do something like this. Instead, what they decided to do is these weird, I would say, half tries at releasing content a lot of the times. They ignored most of what the community wanted. For example, very few people were asking for BB-8 or BB-9. Nope, no, like, I'm sure somebody was, but very few people were asking for that. People have been asking for different Maul skins for years now, and finally we got one new skin for Maul when Han has like 8, and it's a skin that you need to sit and grind out 5,000 multiplayer kills for, as Maul. Which, by the way, I spent a little time doing that today on the console PlayStation 4 version of this game, and every match is where you can play as Maul now is just people building up their battle points, then sitting on the menu waiting to click on him. Not actually playing the game, just waiting to boost that skin. And this is their new method of trying to keep the game alive, is creating some really tedious challenge for one cosmetic item so that everybody will grind it out and stay invested in the game. To me, that doesn't seem like a great plan. And even though Bethesda has had this problem forever, and I would say it's something that's been a strength of Bethesda in terms of we just let the community make whatever they want. Modders for Star Wars Battlefront 2 have done a much better job adding content to the game in terms of cosmetics than the team ever has. And that's not a dig at the team. It's going to sound like it is, but it's not. And here's why I say it's not. Because I truly believe that every person on that DICE team who was devoted to making Battlefront 2 a better game was doing their best to do so. I really do believe that, because the content shines through in what we actually got, the quality of it, the detail level on the new maps, how they paid attention to the detail on the costumes, even the fact that they've put in some fan favorite stuff. Like, I can tell that team was trying. But there have been like mutterings and news reports of moving around team members forever, to the extent where there was only a handful of people left. At least this is what was reported, because DICE and EA are not going to come out and say this. But essentially they had reworked resources, to my understanding, to the point where there were very, very few people left working on Star Wars Battlefront. It was just a tiny handful of people who were trying to keep up with a constant demand for new content. And I get it. I wanted new content too. So did a lot of the players who are still interested in the game and have enjoyed it. But it's come down to the point where it's like, you might as well not play it on console now, because it's going to be dead in the water. They're officially switching back to working on a Battlefield sequel for who knows what reason other than money. Hopefully they can market it better this time, I guess. And at the end of the day, I have loved Star Wars Battlefront 2. I have loved it. And I'm not dumping it on PlayStation 4. I'm still going to play it with Nate. I love playing it with him. He's one of my best friends, and we play it probably a few times a week. But I probably will just end up playing the game on PC from this point forward, because I can just mod the game and play with whatever things that players have created. Because they actually took the time to add in all these fan favorite things that people wanted. And instead of really going in on the free content, EA seems to have just moved resources around to appease fans just enough to not look like they're doing nothing, but not enough to make a huge difference. There are still a bunch of glitches and problems in the game that players experience every day. And even though I don't experience them that often, there is the occasional bug with a hero or with graphics that is frustrating and should have been fixed years ago and is still coming up now. And it's because nobody ever fully committed to this game and what it could be. It's the same thing I say about Call of Duty every year, even though I play a lot of them, is that really at a certain point, just make it a platform. Just commit to making that game the best possible experience you can make it. And I think that goes for every game. If you're going to do constant sequels or try and expand your horizons like that. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I know this was a little more rambly. I just did want to give my thoughts on the closing chapter of Star Wars Battlefront 2. I'm not sure if there will be anything else to talk about with this game going forward until an actual sequel is announced, unless I stream it or something. I hope there's something else, but looks like this is it, folks. So hey, I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you like videos like this? Do you not? Be sure to check out the new Let's Play channel that's linked in the description. We're going to start uploading in just a couple days on May 1st over there, playing through some games. Have a fantastic day and stay awesome.